Good morning and welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the response on the Week Fatherhood podcast from last week. Man, that was great. I had feedback from you guys. You guys really enjoyed that episode, and I want to address some of the questions and some of the stuff that came up from that episode. The most frequent, it seems, and I've gotten this question before in the past and kind of addressed it, but never really dug too deeply into it. But the most frequent thing that comes up is consistency in action, but that's really disguised as something else, which the question in one form or another that's come to me has been, why do we make decisions and then not act on them? This is going to be a chapter in the book in mechanical discipline. I think I'm going to call it, I only want to be skinny in the morning. It's the desire to, let's say when you want to lose weight, you wake up, okay, I'm going to do good today. And then by the end of the day, you make some good choices. You eat a healthy breakfast, you maybe go exercise. And then by the end of the day, you're sitting on the couch, eating Doritos, watching TV, and not doing what you need to be doing. So why do we do that? Was it human nature? Are we lazy? What causes that? And it could be one of several different things. But really what that question is asking is not why are we this way, but how do we overcome this or how do we deal with this situation? It comes down to a control issue because it's not really the gap between knowing and doing in and other that you're not failing at your decisions, you're failing at your choices because they're not the same thing. So the first thing that I want to get into today with you is honestly, have you ever sat back and thought about what you actually control? Because we hear people say all the time, well, don't worry about what you can't control. If you don't control it, let it go. It shouldn't stress you out. Don't spend time worrying about things you don't control. Only focus on what you control. I mean, this is all just standard self-help, shelf-help advice, whatever you want to call it. You hear it all the time. The thing is, though, is what does that actually mean? It means that we have to only do the things that we personally can act on. And this list is not very long. And I'm going to put an infographic out onto my social media. So if you don't like and follow me there, make sure you do it so you don't have to write all this down. And there is a short essay, if you will, whatever you want to call it, that I will send out to those that want it, that will help you start taking control of the things that you do control so you don't worry about the others, because it's a very simple test to figure it out. But realistically, when it comes down to it, there are only 5 things that we control. And I thought there were 6. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but I don't think that one truly applies. Although you guys may disagree. If you do, please tell me in the comments, because you know what? I'm not always right. I'm just trying to share the wisdom that I've got and what I've learned over the years through the School of Hard Knocks and finding every possible wrong way to do something. So what is it? The control loop is what I'm calling it, because that's realistically what it is. We only control 5 things. We control 1, our attention. We control our decisions. We control our choices. We control our actions. And then we control learning from the results of those actions. And I had results. Results is the one that was in there, but it wasn't. It was the one that I pulled out because we don't control the results of our actions. We try and do the best possible thing that we need to do with our actions, but ultimately we don't control the results. But what we do control is what we learn from those results or what we choose not to learn from those results. And the thing is, they're not all equal. Attention encompasses and supersedes everything. We control what we focus on. So our attention, and if you've got this idea in your head or you're drawing this out and making your notes, write a big old circle that everything's going to go inside of. But that circle is your attention. And this could be attention to a task. It could be attention to your family. It could be attention to your career. It could be attention to your health. It could be attention to anything. But you control 100% where you focus your attention, what you put your focus on. And your attention is not the same thing as focus, because you can be focused on something and not really be paying attention to it. If you don't believe me, think about one of those times that you've driven home and you just showed up there and not really sure how you got there because your mind was somewhere else. You were focused on driving, but your attention was not on it. So your attention is the over-encompassing loop. It's the circle that within everything else you control exists. The next thing is decisions. And decisions and choices sound like the same thing, but they're not. Decisions is whenever you have something in front of you that you need to do, you need to take care of, you need to act on, whatever it is, you have to decide what you're going to do about it. Okay. I'm going to use weight loss as this because it's a pretty singular thing that a lot of people deal with. So, okay, I have to admit to myself that I'm 20 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight, 100 pounds overweight. Okay. That's a fact. It's not something I control. It just is a fact. It's like I don't control gravity either. Gravity's just is. So you are 20, 40, 100 pounds overweight, whatever it is. You have a decision to make about that. You can choose to do nothing about it, or you can choose that you're going to lose the weight. Well, I'd like to look better. I'd like to be healthier for my family. I'd like to be able to play ball with my kids. Whatever the reason is behind that decision, you have to choose what you're going to do about it. We have to make the decision on what you're going to do about it. So, okay, I'm going to make the decision to lose the 40 pounds. Okay. Now that decision is made. Nothing's happened yet, but you do control whether or not you made that decision. And then you have to make a choice. And these two sound like the same thing. But once you've made a decision, you then have to make a choice to do something about it. And this is where a lot of people fail. This is where a lot of people get bogged down in their circumstances and they don't understand is that the decision itself is not an act. It is something that you control, but it's just a mental exercise. The choice is to assign an action to that decision. That's a choice. I'm going to eat 1,800 calories and I'm going to work out every day for 45 minutes. Those are choices based on that decision. Nothing's happened yet. All mental exercise. The problem with this is this is where a lot of people stop because the dopamine starts flowing because you feel good because you finally made a plan about what you were going to do. And when you make that plan and you sit back and you think about it, a lot of people stop there because it feels good. Oh man, I got a plan. Yes, I feel like I'm getting this under control because you're finally focusing on the things that you control. The thing is that's a false dopamine reaction. It's a false reward. Nothing's actually happened yet. When you take action on those decisions is whenever you take something that exists only in your mind and create it in reality. You control that. But then when you start acting upon it, then and only then do things start happening. Maybe something happens that you want to happen. Maybe something happens that you don't want it to happen. That's the results of your actions. Now, you can get stuck in a loop on actions and results, and that's the emotional reaction loop. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But once you get the results of your actions, then you can choose to learn from those results, and you control whether or not you learn. And some people never learn, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm stubborn as hell. I will do shit wrong consistently for a long time because I don't want to listen or because I think I'm right. I'm choosing not to learn. I still control it, but then I'm stuck in this loop of doing the same thing over and over again. It looks like insanity. Well, it's a feedback loop that doesn't ever break because learning is what breaks that loop. Once you've learned from that result, you make changes, you go up, apply those changes to your decision, to your choices, and to your actions. Now, your actions have altered slightly based on the feedback from the results. This is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is the exact mechanical steps in achieving your goals, period. And it applies to every piece of life because it's just these 5 things that we control, and that's it. We don't control anything else. This is where your focus needs to lie, period. And you can apply this to every piece of your life. Now, if your actions create pain, create a problem, if the results are so catastrophic from your actions that you run away from them and you go back and you immediately try and undo it without learning from it, you're stuck in a loop at the bottom of this circle where you're just going round and round between you're trying to do something and it's not working. And so you try and do something else and it's not working without ever really thinking about it. This is an emotional feedback. This is a panic reaction. This is what happens when you burn civilization down because it got dark outside and you're burning your house down so you can keep the light. These don't make sense. That emotional reaction loop has to be broken because there is no learning occurring when that's happening. It's all just reaction. You still control every piece of that. And because you control it, you can stop it. But there's no learning and there's no benefit from that emotional reactive loop between action and results back and forth. That learning piece has to interrupt that from the results. When the results happen, you have to learn, and then it goes back to the top. You may not alter the decision. You know what? I hurt my knee. That's a result of you exercising, of an action that you chose. You need to learn from that. Okay, probably don't need to run when I'm 400 pounds. Need to take it easy and only do upper body and low impact stuff for a while. That's learning from those results. Didn't impact your decision. Didn't change your decision. Sometimes it will. Sometimes the decisions you make need to be altered because it's not the right thing, but that's okay. But it does alter the choices. Okay, no more running for me. So low impact only. Now, new action, same goal, same purpose, same decision, still attention based. This action results. I'm starting to lose weight and I'm not hurt and my knee is healing. Good. I learned from that. Let's do more of this. Circle comes back to the top. This is how you focus on what you truly control, and that's it. Guys, this is powerful. This is exactly what you need to do to implement. This is everybody talks up to this point, but they don't ever tell you how to focus on what you control so that you can use it and leverage it in your own life. So you already know what to do. Now let's get into the emotional part of it. Why aren't you doing it? You know who I'm talking about. You've made the decision. You're giving it attention to spend more time with my kids. I need to lose the weight. I need to treat my spouse better. I need to find a better job, whatever. Okay, you wake up. I'm going to do it. That's my decision. I made the decision. It feels great. And then you proceed to immediately do nothing about it. Just you made the decision. That was it. This is not lack of knowledge, and it's not lack of clarity. You're not failing at making the decision. You're failing at making your choices because you're never making it to that next step in the cycle. You're never making it to that next step of what you control. You're failing at making your choices. This is a common lie, and we hear it even in vernacular phrases today. Hey, you need to make better decisions. You need to get clear on your goals. You need to write your goals down. You need to, I don't know, insert whatever guru phrase you want to insert there because it doesn't matter. You hear them 100 times. Get clear, get focused. You just need to work harder. You need to do this. You need to do that. Listen, you've already decided what you want to do. You need to work out. You need to fix your business. You need to be present for your family. But why are you not changing, even with all this advice and you know what to do? This is the gap that nobody's talking about, and I don't know why. It's the gap between making a decision and doing something about it. That choice in bringing that decision into reality. And this is the thing that people are afraid of and that people are scared of. Because inside that gap lives every excuse, emotion, exhaustion, fatigue, doubt, distraction that you've been telling yourself or using so that you don't have to be accountable to yourself for what you've decided. Because as long as it stays internal, it can be altered to fit whatever situation is there. As soon as you start taking actions on the choices you made to enact the decision, now it's external. Now people can see it. Now you have to say the truth. And you can no longer lie to yourself about what you're doing or what you're not doing. Now it exists in reality. This is where that gap is people are afraid of it. They're tired. They're already tired before they begin. You see, failure doesn't happen with the decision. We all make the decision. It happens in that gap between decision and choice. Choice and action prove the integrity of the decision. And that's where we let things fall apart. That's where we lie to ourselves. So one of the things I like to tell people is, what do you say when you lie to yourself? Because you're the only one that believes it and you're the only one that has to. So it doesn't matter. So let's talk about choice. Choice is the moment that you either align with your decisions or you betray yourself. Your decision is simply an intention to act upon a circumstance that you've identified that needs something done, period. That's it. That's all a decision is. Choice is the execution filter that creates the existence of this decision in reality through action. I'll say that again. Choice is the execution filter that creates the reality of this decision through action. It brings it from an idea into the real world. Your alarm goes off in the morning. You choose to get up or turn it off. That's a very simplified example of it. Your phone rings for a sales call. You either pick it up or you ignore it. Or better yet, you have to dial the phone for a sales call. You either dial the phone or you ignore it. You're tired at the end of the day and you haven't worked out yet. You either go work out or you don't. These are your choices based on your decision. These don't require motivation. They don't require inspiration. They simply are. You've already made the decision. You're either going to be true to yourself or you're going to betray yourself, because your choices reveal integrity to your decisions. It all sounds so simple, very mechanical, obviously, mechanical discipline. But here we have to pause, step back, and look at this for a second, because you know what? We're human. And in developing this, obviously, use AI to develop ideas, and you can't really do even a Google search without Gemini jumping in there and what have you. To a computer, this is something that uniquely came up. To a computer, a choice and an action are the same thing, because and the way computers work is they're incapable of making a choice without acting upon it. It's the same thing. So we tend to treat our problems as if we're computers, and we're simply not. We're not machines. We can decide something is the right thing to do and still not do it. Or worse, we can decide something's the right thing to do and do the exact opposite. Why? Emotions. They muddy execution. They muddy everything up. They can enhance it from time to time, but mostly they just muddy it up. And whenever you let emotions control you, now you can control your emotions, but whenever you let emotions control you, this is where your identity starts fracturing. This is where you start to feel like a failure and a loser. This is where you start to beat yourself up because you know what the right thing to do is. You've got a plan for it. You've decided to do it, and yet you still haven't acted upon it because those emotions are controlling you. This is fracturing your identity and is starting to destroy your self-esteem, and it's starting to destroy your ability to act upon your own dreams and goals. This is when you fracture your identity, it breaks you down between, I know what I should do, but I'm looking back at what I actually did, and they do not match. You don't have a knowledge problem. You don't have a decision problem. You have a choice integrity problem, meaning you're either not making the choices or you're making the choices and you're choosing not to act upon them. And therein lies the cognitive dissonance that's destroying you and making you feel weak and non-powerful. Let me go through the control loop again because I want to talk a little bit more about it. Attention, the container, for lack of a better word. It's the container. It's the loop that holds everything in. Wherever you choose to put your attention, that's what you focus on. That's what you make decisions about. Decisions, you make choices on those, based on those decisions on what you need to do. You take action upon those choices. That produces results. You don't control the results. You control everything else up to this point, except for the results. What you do control from the results is learning from the results. Did this work? Did this not work? What worked? What didn't? And then using that to implement better choices so you have better actions so that you get better results. And that now, if you get stuck in that emotional feedback loop after you've taken action, because there's not a feedback loop before you take action. It's just decisions with cognitive dissonance because you're not acting upon them by making your choices. But if you get stuck in that actions results loop without learning over and over and over and again, that's the emotional feedback loop. And you do not want to be stuck there. The only way to break that cycle is to stop doing said stupid thing and learn why it's not working, or at least acknowledge it's not working, make a different choice so you can have a different action so you can break that cycle. But remember, you only control your attention, your decisions, your choices, your actions, and your learning. The results, they just simply are what they are. But if you miss at your choices, everything else downstream breaks. Choices don't go backwards. The decision's still made whether you choose to act on it or not. You still made the decision. Your attention's still on that. But if you miss at your choices, nothing else in the rest of this process happens. You know it should. Your brain is expecting it to because your brain doesn't know the difference. But nothing you've decided exists in reality because you missed at choices. Here is where most people fail at the implementation, is they make their decision and they really start to feel good about this. And I touched base whenever I was explaining the 5 pieces that we control, but they make their decisions and they feel good about it because now they have clarity. But they never take that next step into making those choices and auditing those choices and making sure that they will actually implement and support that decision. So they track their goals, they track their outcomes, their results. They think they control that. And what they're ignoring is the alignment in the moment, because when the results don't come out the way they want, they feel like a failure and like everything is falling apart. Because your life is not built on what you decide to do. It's built on what you choose to do when it matters. I'm going to say that again. Your life is not built on what you decide to do. It's built on what you choose to do when it matters. That's what brings thoughts, goals, dreams into reality. And this is how it ties in with mechanical discipline, because you want to automate as much of this as possible. Because the more you have to think about it, the more you give the opportunity for emotions to come into it and muck up the cycle. So mechanical discipline removes reliance on the emotional motivation. It removes the negotiation that we all do with ourselves. Only want to be skinny in the morning. I could eat this whole piece of cake tonight. That'll be fine. I didn't exercise as much as I needed to today. I didn't really earn it, but I do this, folks. I'm human. I'm as human as the next guy. I don't claim to be perfect at this. I just know what works, and I no longer blame other people or external circumstances. When I make a choice that is not in alignment with the decisions that I want, I own that. Now, you can continue owning it, and it turns into some kind of self-deprecating loop where you just flagellate yourself in front of everybody, and that's not healthy either. When you make a mistake, acknowledge it, move on, learn from it, make a better choice, and go on from there. One bad choice will not a decision destroy. Remove your negotiation with yourself. You're trying to close those gaps so that you can eliminate any possibility, any crack for emotion to slip in. You decide once on what you're going to do. You figure out all the different situations you think about. You call this pre-framing, but you frame the situations that may be challenging to you or what it's going to look like when you implement these actions. And then you try and make your choices that are aligned with your decision so that when your actions get implemented, everything has already been made and thought about. You're not going to cover everything, but the more that you do cover, the easier it is to handle those situations that you did not expect or could not anticipate when they come up, because you already have an arsenal of tools, and one of those situations will be close enough you can use whatever you've looked at as a way to cope with what's coming up. So some examples. Well, when I'm tired, I still go to the gym. I lived this one today. It was hard for me to get in the gym today. I did not feel good. I was off. It was just an off day. I felt better when I walked out of the gym. I've never left the gym after a workout and gone, God, I wish I hadn't come here today. I've never once done that. But there's been a lot of days where I looked at it and went, man, I really could have gone to the gym today. I was just lying to myself this morning. Or for sales reps out there, when I don't feel like calling people, you pick up the phone and you dial it anyway. You got a job to do and you're tired, you get up and you go do it anyway. It doesn't really matter. Here's what you're going to take away from this. Here's what you're going to do immediately so you can implement this. Because while you're excited about this is the best time to do it. While it's clear in your head, start acting on it. It's going to solidify those patterns and you won't forget how this works. So you're excited about this. If this is spoken to you, in addition to liking and subscribing and following me and do all the different things that need to be done to exist in today's attention-driven economy, go and start implementing this. And here's your practical application. Pay some attention to what you decided and write it down. So what did I decide? You don't have to write it down every time, but you're going to want to write this one. And if it's something you've already decided before, then ask yourself this question. Say, why did I break alignment in my choices with what I actually decided? Why didn't I do anything about what I decided? And answer that honestly. And then go deeper. Say, what triggered that? Why did I act that way? Ask yourself this, why did I do that? What triggered that? Until you don't have an answer anymore. It may get kind of deep. It may be 2 or 3 levels. Who knows? After you've been honest with yourself and you've got through that whole list of why you didn't act upon things, then what gets adjusted? What do I need to fix? This is the learning part. What do I need to fix so that I can implement better choices, so that I can make better choices, so I can implement better actions, so I can have better results? What gets adjusted? But here's the thing. If you don't give this your attention, you won't learn, because everything in this cycle exists within the bubble of attention. It all is there. Without attention, it doesn't work. So I'm going to bring this back to where I hit at the beginning. You already know what to do. Most of these decisions have already been made. That's generally not the issue. We know what we want. We know what we're supposed to be doing. We know what we should be doing. The final thought on this is decisions set the standard, but choices prove who you are. And your actions show that to the world. Stop renegotiating on stuff that you've already decided. That was a quote from Firefly. It's like, why are we still discussing that, what's been decided? I can't say it any better than that. Decide once, make your choices in alignment with that, and then execute. Put your actions into place. Let the results be what they are. It's not your responsibility to control the results until you learn from them. That's it. So if you're tired of a theory on how to get better, and you're tired of waiting on something that you don't even know what it is, and if you're tired of knowing what you need to do and just not doing it, and start closing that gap, send me a message, shoot me a comment below, and I'll send you over the framework based on this that takes you through these steps. I'm not selling it, giving it away for free. I want you guys to be able to execute from this. The only thing I ask is that when it works, I want to hear your wins. I want to hear your successes, and I want to hear your losses too. If it doesn't work, let's work together and figure out why, because there's probably something in there that you're missing, or maybe you need some experience from the outside to act upon the system to help your actions improve. No matter what it is, reach out. That's why I put this out there every week. That's why I do this. And as always, if this has hit and if this is something you find valuable, please share this, send this to a friend. If every single one of you just sent this to 2 people, we'd be one of the top podcasts out there. I get feedback constantly saying we've got good content. You guys are learning a bunch from me. Share it with your friends. Let them know. Let's grow. Let's make a difference in as many lives as possible. Love y'all. Peace.